Okay, ready to go? Hello and welcome back to the Simple Politics podcast. It's me, Diane Daniels, and together with Tatton Spiller, I'll be taking you through what's happening from the Simple Politics socials from this week and also from Westminster and the world of UK politics. We'll also be joined for the mailbag this week by Queen of the Comments section, Emma Thorne. Hello, Tatton. Was that sufficiently subtle this week?
Well, what I liked about that is I feel like I'm on a plane and I'm about to jet off somewhere fun. Welcome. It was like a cabin crew announcement. Are you going to start showing me how to inflate a life jacket in a minute? But they never do it. They never actually. It breaks my heart. They're like, oh, look, and you pull on this. I'm like, oh, yeah, go on, inflate it. And they never do.
No. Their ones have got like a special hole poked in them so they can never do it. Oh.
Yeah. They're impotent life jackets.
Yeah, I know. But, yes, I can't win with my intros, so...
I mean, you can just be you. Diane, you're so wonderful. You're so amazing. You're funny and you're clever and you know stuff. And then you start these things like that.
It's tricky. It's tricky being first up.
It's not, listen, Charlotte's wonderful. Like, I love Charlotte, but like, you know, she managed to read, you wrote your thing and then she read it and it was okay. But we haven't managed to, between the two of us.
Yeah.
And it's you that does it. We haven't managed to smash it yet.
Just lovely listener. Bear with us. We'll get better. We'll try some things out in the mirror and it'll be fine.
We really need to get better. Lovely listener, thank you for bearing with us. Just a sneak preview of what's coming up. Before we started recording, Diane was telling me her ideas for SP's 10th birthday. Oh boy,
they're secret. They're secret ideas.
Don't worry, they're secret ideas that no one will ever hear of because we're not going to do them. It was exciting though.
All I said was I really, really would love. It's been a lifetime ambition to get a Guinness World Record. That's all I said.
So the record-breaking SP. How many P's can you fit in your mouth? Probably, I mean, the record for that must be like several P's, like 7 P's, like loads.
At least
7. Anyway, so it is our 10th birthday on the 8th of May, and we're going to do something. We don't know what yet. Diane's going to push a walnut up a hill with her nose.
Yes.
But we're going to do something, and you will know about it. Before we move on as well, I've got to talk about Patreon. Last week, I told you I went quite deep last week about Patreon and how we needed. We're £175 short of breaking even on the podcast, not paying us, just the cost of the podcast. And it was really lovely for the new people that joined us. And it was just, it made my heart lift, in fact. And someone just joined us today, and we record on a Thursday, and it's funny because I forget that people listen to the podcast throughout the week rather than just when it comes out on the Friday. So it's been a really lovely smattering of wonderful Patreon people through the week. It wasn't enough to finish the £175. Of course it wasn't. That's a lot. I was never expecting it to be that over 1 week. So we are still short. We do not cover our costs. So if you want to join Patreon for as little as £3 a month, just to keep it going, because otherwise we will stop. We can't justify it after the summer. And after the summer, we got party conferences, we got the budget, we got all the funds after the summer. Imagine how good this podcast is going to be by the time Diane Daniels manages to do a good intro.
Yeah.
And we've got a speech from Ed Davey at the Liberal Democrat conference. I know, I can't wait either. So £3 a month can help it keep going. Patreon.com/Simple Politics.
Brilliant. Okay, let's move on to top posts of the week, because this is a great chat. I love it. We basically look at what's been on our socials this week, and based on your comments, your feedback, your likes, your shares, everything else, that's how we come up with this top 3 every week if you're a first time listener. So in at 3, we've got the right to switch off. Now, this is about Labour's big employment rights bill that's been back in the Commons this week, making its way to becoming law. There's so much in there, so much.
It's huge.
Yeah, and it's stuff. It's probably not surprising stuff, and so we didn't repost about a lot of it because we've covered it before. So, right back in general election times, pre-general election times, Keir Starmer already set out a lot of what he was going to do in this employment rights bill, and he's followed through. So things like ending exploitative 0 hours contracts, that's something he talked about pre-election, and that was in there. Ending fire and rehire, because remember all that debacle with the ferry company that happened, who did all that P&O.
We should name them every single time.
Yeah, so ending fire and rehire came about because of that. So lots in there. Oh my goodness, the day one parental rights is huge. Such a biggie. So lots and lots and lots and lots in there, but just taking a slightly different little look at it. We remembered one thing he did talk about pre-election that wasn't in there, didn't make it quite the way through, and that was about the right to switch off, or some people in the US, they always call it the right to disconnect, which I quite like. It's like we're in the Matrix. So
do they have it? Do they have it in America?
I don't believe they have it. No.
Okay.
It's just some companies. It's their ethos, the right to disconnect. And that's about, say you work a 9 to 5. It's about if you get an email at 7, you've got the right to completely ignore it because it's not your working hours, and you need a work-life balance and you need a healthy home life. So that's the kind of thing that the right to switch off would give you.
And it's gone.
It's gone. I think it's a really tricky one to implement, isn't it? Because there's a certain amount of businesses we talk about, a certain amount of discretion in this, a certain amount of flexibility. And like we all have that in work, like I might say, I'd really, really like to go and do X today because I need to deliver a parcel and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I'll very happily, come back on at 6 tonight and make it up. And there's that discretion, that businesses find it really hard to say, I think sometimes.
It's the size, Diane, because like in my email, I was writing about this because I hope that Simple Politics I look after everyone reasonably well, and I'm really clear that if I send a message when I'm working in the middle of the night, I'm working at the weekend, I don't expect a response, and that's because I know you are humans and I know you're working hard. But if you are like some massive company with however many thousands of employees, you have to have set rules to stop people not working or even working too much, because working too much creates burnout, and that matters too. You can't have people working too much as well. So finding the rules is really hard because it's not one size fits all. But ultimately, if you run PricewaterhouseCoopers, how many people do they employ in business, in offices around the country, right? Yeah. If you have to have policies that are for the whole company, which is hard. And if the government comes in and says, this has to be your policy, that makes it more complicated. But we just want everyone to be nice. That's what we want. But unfortunately, that you can't just say, that can't be your human and employment rights policy.
Yeah, tricky. I can see why it's not there. But lots and lots was still in there. So it's definitely, when these things get to the other end, when they've had royal assent, when they're about to come law and are coming in, we'll definitely keep you updated for when to look out for these dates hitting.
Oh, yeah. When they land, it's going to be huge.
Absolutely.
Okay, in at 2. Oh, yes, lovely people. It's pylons. Okay, pylons. They're the big metal things that run through the countryside. And people say, oh, I don't like pylons. They're running through the countryside and they're big metal things. And they're exactly right. There are people who say that you get cancer if you live near a pylon. And it's not really true. Not with any of the scientific studies that I've seen. Maybe you have access to such a deeper science than I've seen, but it's not true. They say that cars don't work very well. Electric cars are all scrambled up by pylons. I have an electric car. I drive through pylons quite a lot because there's some pylons between me and my kids' school. So, like, every day, twice a day, mostly. There's a lot of nonsense spoken about them. But the reason people don't like them is they're ugly.
Yes,
and they have to go.
Yeah.
And they're only in the countryside. You don't have pylons in the city because you just deal with the cables in a different way. So they're only in beautiful places, which is problematic. But you've got this thing of NIMBYism, where people agree that we need infrastructure. People agree that we need stuff, but they don't want it near them. Pylons are ugly, and the government has got new laws that say, don't worry about it. You're not going to have a say in planning. We're just going to do it. Shut up. We're just going to do it. And they're making planning less democratic, which is great for democracy, right? Less democratic planning. But now they're giving you some carrot.
Yeah.
It's a bit of carrot. Yeah. If you have a new pylon or a refurbished pylon within 500 meters of your house, that's a long way, 500 meters. They're going to give you 250 quid a year off your bills. That's what they do. Oh, I think it's France. It might not be France. In France, that might not be France. They have a system where trains, if they're building a train line, they will compensate quite heavily. So now, in the UK, we're like, no, not near us. But in France, towns bid to be on the route.
Give me the train.
Right? Yeah. And so, yes, it's a bit more expensive, but it gets stuff done. And in the end, it's cheaper because you don't have to fight all the legal battles. You don't have to do anything else. You are welcomed with open arms where you're going. So paying people to have these things is I think a good idea, and actually it ends up making it cheaper because you don't have to fight all these battles.
Yeah, the legal stuff must be so expensive and also time consuming, right? So stuff doesn't get done because you're fighting appeals of villagers who don't want certain things happening near them. But
yeah.
I mean, this is pylons, right? They're not doing it for anything else yet. Just pylons.
Not yet, but it does work on the continent somewhere, possibly France. On the continent, it does work.
Yeah. So I mean, you could do it for anything, really, because I mean, nobody wants. It's stuff like prisons. Nobody wants near them, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's tricky.
That's tricky. That's tricky. Maybe more infrastructure. Maybe it is just more turbines, cables, pylons. Maybe that's what it's.
I mean, it is worth saying that what we need is a lot of pylons because we've got places now all over the country springing up, creating electricity through wind, through sun, through whatever else, and the grid is not set up for it. So we're not taking advantage of all the good energy we're getting. And so it gets wasted. And we need to spend, again, if we're going to hit net zero, we need to spend an eye-watering amount of money on cables and pylons and all of these things. And no one wants to spend it. Because no one wants to stand up in House of Commons and announce, Rachel Reeves doesn't want to announce an extra £2 billion on cables. No, that's the last thing she wants to say.
No. It's not a good message. No.
It's so, you've got schools, you've got SEN, send schools needing loads of money. And the money we would spend on cables would be so good. It'd be so useful. It would transform the country's national energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a bit dull, isn't it?
Yeah. Good pylon chat. Loved it. Right.
What? Do we have to stop talking about pylons now?
We do. Unfortunately, just put a pin in it.
Listen, I'm cross news number one. What on earth could have beaten pylons? Nothing's more important than pylons. What's beaten pylons, Diane?
you know, and you're just trying. You're poking me deliberately because
that doesn't sound like something I'd do.
Because very importantly, number one this week was International Women's Day. We did 2 posts on this, 2 very different posts. Tatton and Laura.
Can I just point out? I just want to say I did do one of these posts. It's not, I do care about International Women's Day. I don't want to devalue it. Sorry.
No, we know you do. We know. So Tatton did a clip which was great. We were watching the International Women's Day debate, which is on Thursday in the Commons. They do this every year. It's always a super emotional watch, and there was
it's harrowing.
It is harrowing. There was a clip. It was our youngest female MP, Rosie, writing. She was talking about her own experience of feeling safe as a woman, and some of the things that really strike a chord with a lot of people, like just always being aware when you're walking home on your own, having a key in your hand, things like that, always just being super aware and alert, on high alert almost. And that's what she spoke about. And that clip you put up did amazingly, because so many people felt
just resonated, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It really, really did. And then on actual International Women's Day itself, on Saturday, we posted a bit more from the debate. So we posted some quotes from a range of MPs. There was some Labour MPs in there. There was Conservative. There was a few different MPs. So cross-party stuff. And just talking about different groups of women that don't often get a shout out and probably deserve one. So childcare workers was the one that was on the front of the post, who are often on minimum wage but do some of the most valuable work in our society. We talked about the Lioness, an MP talked about the Lionesses, an MP talked about people in the beauty industry, like the absolute boom in these female-owned businesses who are doing a cracking job, like raking in GDP for the economy, and would probably have been working all day on Saturday during International Women's Day. So I think someone in the comments put it far better, more eloquently than I'm doing right now, and kind of said, it was great to see an International Women's Day post from these MPs that was talking about ordinary women, not record breakers, or you don't have to be, someone who, even though I want to be a record breaker, just putting that on record. You don't have to be someone who's scaled Everest, or it doesn't have to be, anything like that. It's just people quietly, absolutely smashing it, and that's what the post was about.
I mean, it's really important, isn't it? And International Women's Day can mean so many things to so many people. That debate, and listen, it's going to be 360 days ish till the next one, but next year, watch it. I was reduced to tears a few times, and it's everyday stories. Someone was talking about fibroids and hysterectomy and the menopause. And my fiance has just been through exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's just to hear those stories coming through from Parliament, it's something else. And it wasn't just women speaking.
Nope.
A lot of men stood up and spoke, often about the women in their constituencies, sometimes about those historical women, those historical record breakers. They were there in the debate as well. But a lot of talk about wives and children, and like just people. I also just before we move on, there's a shop in Whitstable called Olivia's, and it's quite a big place. And I found myself in a bar chatting to the Olivia the other day, and I thought it was great, and I was really starstruck. So when we're talking about people doing that kind of business, tanning salon it is, I was like, oh, this is the Olivia, and I'm still slightly in awe of having met the Olivia.
Awesome. Shout out to Olivia. Well done. Brill. Let's have some questions. Let's bring Emma in.
Questions?
I hope so.
Ooh.
Let's ask Emma.
I am the lady with the questions.
Oh, lovely listener. This is producer Emma, who is joining us today while Lottie is gallivanting. I don't even know what Lottie's doing, because that's how leave works. You don't have to leave a full schedule as to your movements. Although you should really. I might bring that in. Yes, I don't know what Lottie's up to, but I'm sure it's something good. And instead, we have Emma, who is our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful communications person. I can't remember your title, but she's amazing. A communications assistant. What a communications assistant she is. Emma, hi.
Hello. Okay, so first question. Do you think we, as the UK, can just ignore Trump?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, we can't. We can't. This week, it's pertinent because the tariffs have clicked in this week. So the steel tariff, the aluminium tariff, that 25%. Is official, if you like, this week. But I think Keir Starmer engaging with Trump is possibly why that's all we've had. And we are not in a position that Canada are in, or, other countries. And Keir Starmer seems quite pragmatic about the whole thing. And he believes keeping talking to Trump will mean that we can talk about a deal, a fuller trade deal, and hopefully tariffs can be part of that. And we can look at that steel tariff as part of a wider trade deal. That's his view. And I think he's playing it quite well. So
he seems to be smashing it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This is the we live in a global world. I mean, the world's always been global.
Yeah.
But we live what happens in America matters in the UK because of trade, because of global markets, because of trade. It would be impossible to ignore a massive trade block like that from the UK. Plus, if he's stomping around in Ukraine, we can't ignore that either. We can't do it. So no, as much as a lot of people in this country don't agree with Trump on fundamental principles, we can't just, like your mum told you, if you got nothing nice to say nothing at all. Right? We can't just say nothing at all and bury our hands and our heads, probably more, and pretend it doesn't exist. So no, cannot ignore him.
No.
Okay, great. So question 2, Vicky asks.
Hello, Vicky.
Why isn't Rachel Reeves taxing the richest tax band? I don't know enough. Is it because all the millionaires and billionaires will move away?
Oh, Vicky, what an excellent question.
It's a great question.
And it's one that we get all the time. And whenever we say, this is happening, we're having to cut money on this. Like, why are you taxing the rich? So, taxing the rich is really difficult because the rich, they go really far to not be taxed, right? They struggle with it. And so, look, they've just gone after the rich. One of the things that the rich do to avoid tax is they buy farms, right? It's what they get big amounts of farms, and then because there's a tax discount on inheritance, so they've got this clever system where they're going to use the tax discount on inheritance and get it done. But then the farmers are like, it's not all rich people. Some of us own our own farms and you're going to destroy our way of life. It's difficult. Rich people put their money in faraway places. I mean, some will leave. The horrific, awful, disgusting man that runs Manchester United right now, Jim Ratcliffe, who has cut food for the poorest members of staff, and he's now announced, and then he said, if I didn't do this, Manchester United will go bust before Christmas. He gave no details or accounts to support that. He just said it's going to happen. And the next day, literally the next day, he announced a £100 billion stadium that they're going to build. So he who can't afford it. He lives in Monaco to save money on tax, right? So some people will leave, and I saw he might save £4 billion or something like that, like which would look after. Imagine what that could do for our country, and what's he going to do with it anyway? People, some do move, but most don't. Because most like it in the UK.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be. And if you move for tax reasons, you're only allowed like 90 days or something in the UK before you officially live here. So it's not nice. It's not nice. I mean, you know, when I sell SP for £50 billion, right? When I to Jim Ratcliffe.
Are you off to, where are you going? Cayman Islands?
There's just a vast number of places to relocate to, but you have to say goodbye to all your friends. You have to say goodbye to your house. If your children are at school, you've got to uproot them or not, send them to boarding school here or something. It's not nice. People don't like it. So the threat of people moving away is generally just a threat. People have done it for years. Said, "Oh, if you do that, I'm moving away."
Yes.
And then that happens, and they go, "Oh, did I say move away? I meant stay where I am."
Yeah. And the Green Party would argue that it's not going to happen because they're big wealth tax campaigners. And Adrian Ramsey talks a lot about how it's one of those things that people say with any policy, any big, bold policy, there's claims around what the impacts will be. And until you do it, you can't really quantify that.
There's a pressure group called Patriotic Millionaires. Have you seen them?
Yes.
And they are millionaires saying tax us.
Yeah.
Tax us more. You're missing out on our money. We would happily give it to you. I mean, of course, a lot of people have got rich by being mean. You know, you scrimp on this, you scrimp on that, and that's how you build up a load of money. Like, because we're talking about obscene amounts of money. We're talking about, you know, we're not talking about your nan who's a millionaire because the house she bought in 1955 is now worth £2 million pounds, and that's quite a common thing. Like old people a lot of old people are asset millionaires, even though they've got no cash, because their house has gone up so much. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about people. I think I saw 20,000 people in the UK with £10 million or more.
Is there a part of this that's about not pissing off millionaires because they want them to back their political party? You know, there's donations to be had from...
No.
Okay.
No, because I think every party tries to raise tax from that bracket. We've got a 45p rate of income tax. But the problem is we tax income... but not wealth.
No.
So it's once you're already rich, no one's taking it off you. But the journey to being rich is heavily taxed. Like in International Women's Day, they said the thing about you when you take the lift to the top, when you make it, the most important thing is to send it back down again.
Yeah.
And that's like the opposite of how our financial system works in this country. It's really hard to get there, but once you get there, everything is okay. And you're not taxed. So the way you tax rich people at the moment is by taxing income, is by taxing interest on assets, is by capital gains tax, is through inheritance tax. It's when money moves about is when it gets taxed. If it just sits in an account, it can't get... But it doesn't do anything then. So, and rich people want to turn their lots of money into lots more money, and so they invest it, and then and that's when it gets taxed and all that kind of thing. It's complicated and it's hard. Tax the rich is a really tricky thing to do, and that's why it's not done. And again, when they try it, look at what happened to the farmers. Look at what happened there. That's an attempt to tax the rich. It's difficult.
Great.
Okay, great. That's all the questions for this.
Sorry, I find taxing the rich even more interesting than pylons. So I do apologise.
No, surely not. Oh, thank you, Emma. Thanks for taking us through those. That was great.
Great job.
I'll leave you to it now. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye. Right, we should get into another deep section then, will we?
I think no. I'll tell you what. I'm
Yeah.
going to read the introductions to this because I think I just banged on quite a lot about tax, and people listening are like, "So is Diane coming back?" Like basically, we've got some big bills going through at the moment. This week we had the crime and policing bill, and we had the employment rights bill, and then next week we've got another bill coming back as the children's and well-being schools bill. Diane, what's in there?
Okay. Right. I think this is split into sort of two, roughly. Maybe we'll talk about each one a little bit differently. But, you said it. It's called children's well-being and schools. So there's quite a lot of this bill is about some safeguarding stuff. Okay. And what the government want is they want a better register of children who are not in school. Okay, so this happens. Some people, every time we talk about this, people say, "Oh, they've got one in my local authority." I do register to say I've got my kids at home or whatever. But overall, there isn't a complete joined up picture for England, and that's what the government want because while there are a lot of people who do great things with their kids and home educate them, and it's all brilliant. There are also a number of kids who the government just haven't managed to get back into school after COVID, and we don't know what's happening with them. And yeah.
Doesn't this come? There was a, I don't know the names, but there was a horrific case where a child was supposed to be being homeschooled, and they weren't being homeschooled.
No, and absenteeism is huge at the minute, absolutely huge in every school. So they want to get a better handle on this, they're talking about a kind of NI number for kids. And again, talking to friends, I know this happens some places, but not everywhere. So sort of a unique identifier, so we can better track kids and what they're doing, and this comes back to the case you're talking about, Tatton. This not an automatic right to take your kids out. So if there are concerns about the home life, that it's not an automatic right to take your kids out, which I think is really important. So that's the safeguarding bit of the bill.
And would you? I think we often get kind of parents who homeschool being quite upset with this bill.
Yes.
But my understanding of the bill is that they are not at risk. If you're good at homeschooling and you just homeschool for ideological reasons or for whatever reason it might be, if you're giving your child good education, if your child is reading to the expected standard and, knows Pythagoras, I don't know, then you are not at risk of any of these things.
That's how I read it. Absolutely. I think there are always concerns about reach and creep here. It's a register first, then will you be expected to, I don't know, lay out some kind of curriculum? I don't know, but
pass a test.
Yeah.
Like what if there's a test to pass just to check the standards going to that you can see the concerns for mission creep there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so that's that part of the bill. And then the next part of the bill, and this is the fascinating bit, this is about standardising the school experience in England. And this is about some things that, again, happen some places, but they want it to be more broadly in line everywhere. So there's stuff in there about the number of branded uniform items. That's hugely popular with parents because school uniform, man, is expensive. So they're going to set some guidance around that for schools. The free breakfast clubs. I mean, that's just a hugely popular thing. It's interesting because I read a piece that said they exist in a lot of places already, but again, it's about making it more in line.
But it's also about making specific funding available because, I mean, but they were dismissed yesterday in the House of Commons. The day before, someone referred to them as 60p breakfast clubs. The suggestion being that this kind of lip service, yes, they might be babysat while their parents can go out, but really how much of a nutritious breakfast can you get? I mean, grapefruit, that used to be a nutritious breakfast, doesn't it? Have a grapefruit. I don't know how much a grapefruit costs.
Grapefruits are expensive.
Are they? I mean, I'm not allowed. My medication means I'm not allowed grapefruit. Yeah. But it used to be a big thing at breakfast time, didn't it?
No.
A grapefruit? Oh, shut up, Diane. No, but what I want to talk about, academies, because academies is a truly fascinating topic. They got introduced by Tony Blair and the Conservative Party, and they were deeply unpopular at that point because what it does is it takes, and the Conservative Party's built on it. It takes a school and it says you're not going to be under the control of the local authority anymore.
Yeah.
Your head teacher can make lots of decisions. You don't have to follow the curriculum. You don't have to employ people with qualified teacher status. So if there's an Olympic hockey player who wants to come and teach PE, bang, let him in. It gives them freedom to pay people more if they want to pay people more. They've still got the same budget and funding from the government, but if they can get some funding from elsewhere, you can pay people some more. And there was all of these freedoms, and part of the logic was to allow state schools to be run like private schools. So private schools have had in the history in past more people going to Oxbridge. They have had more people doing various different things. So let good state school head teachers model their school in that way.
So quite like entrepreneurial for
yeah, it is quite entrepreneurial. And it's gone on now most schools are academies, and some behave very much not like academies, and some behave very much like academies. And there's a school, the Michaela School, I think it is, which is kind of the antithesis of that, and the Conservative Party says it's the best school in the country, and all of this, and like it's in order to create unity, she got rid of the Muslim faith room, so there wasn't a gap between the different students. For example, that's the kind of thinking that she goes with. Now Labour have come in and gone, I don't really like some children not having to follow the curriculum because we make the curriculum carefully and we think every child should have it. Oh, hang on. I want every child in the state system to be taught by someone who is a trained teacher. And if that Olympic hockey player wants to teach PE, perfect. It's a 1-year course. PGC is I did it. PGC is a 1-year course. Take a year and then teach as much PE as you like. Knock yourself out. So they're massively rowing back the academy's freedoms, and the Conservatives are stamping their feet. They're not happy. They're not happy with it. But and Kevin Badnett's gone on that premise questions before. But it's back next week, and I'll be really interested to see how the debate goes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And of course, if the curriculum review is happening separately, a big review of curriculum.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So this is preempting it. If Labour can get to a point where they say everybody's following the same curriculum, then whatever changes they make to the curriculum are universal. And that's really what they're aiming for. So
it's going to be so fascinating. How to put together a curriculum, that is a hard challenge. Huge.
But that's one for next week. And also next week, lovely listener, we will get some political parties talking, which will be nice. There's this thing called Spring Conference, and Tatton probably knows why not everyone has one, but not everyone has one.
Because it's a waste of time.
But shh, don't tell that to the Lib Dems.
Plaid Cymru with Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, no, because they are having a Spring Conference, a lovely get-together. And then the week after that, we're also promised the biggest ever in Capitals event from Reform. So,
but I know one guy's not going to be there.
Oh,
so
yes.
It'll be the biggest ever, but one.
Minus one.
Minus. I think Anne Widdecombe will get to sit a bit closer to Nigel Farage because that one seat needs filling. Come on, Anne. Do your thing. But also, I mean, just to be, it's the very end of the show, and let's just be miserable. 23rd of March is coming, as it does every year, but that means it's on the 23rd of March 2020, Boris Johnson told us all to stay at home. That was quite the thing, telling us all to stay at home. And, well, it all unpanned from there. So, unpanned? I don't think things do unpan. But it, like, yeah, and the rest. Well, I'm not going to promote some other podcast. But it all happened after that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice to spend, maybe next week we can spend some time talking about how the country is still impacted by the... Right, that's a decision made. Tune in next week and we're going to talk all about... Because obviously we know the horrific things that happened. But I want to spend some time thinking about what we are still suffering from as a result of COVID.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Script done. So tune in for that next week. We'd love it if you could join us. And remember, head to patreon.com/Simple Politics if you can.
Oh, you slick professional.
I know.
That's it.
I know.
It's because Emma's nudging you. I can tell.
Yeah. I'm getting the signal. But we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Bye.